So recall, we're not talking about oil companies here that we think of every day like Shell and Total. These are state-run oil companies. So in Saudi Arabia, the oil company is called Saudi Aramco, but it's a state-owned company. So Saudi Aramco is actually, if you include state-owned oil companies, the largest single company in the world, bar none. They make Walmart and Exxon together look like Tic Tacs. EBITDA last year was $250 billion. But the point is that's effectively all government money. The second point to your question is, where do these data come from? These data actually come from Brad Borland in Saudi Arabia. Brad is an energy analyst he's an American who lives in Saudi Arabia and runs an energy firm there. And these were data that he presented publicly at the CIRA conference in Houston last year. I asked him if I could use this. Well, I would say they're variable, actually, not fixed. I'll give you an example. Iran is a great country to look at when you consider what a pre- and post-regime change looks like. Prior to the departure / fall of the Shah, Iran was producing 6.1 million barrels of oil per day. The day the Shah was booted out, Iranian oil production fell to 0, and some of us are old enough to remember what that actually implied in 1979. Here's the interesting part. Within a few years, Iran was quote unquote stable again. Iranian oil production has never once come close to approaching 6 million barrels a day again. In fact, the highest it's ever been is about 4.5 million barrels per day. Why? Same thing in Libya. What happened in Libya during all the turmoil? We lost 2.1 million barrels a day of the lightest sweet crude in the Middle East, and that caused an enormous disruption that many of us can remember from last December. It's still not online. Now, we could argue that Libya is not yet stable yet. I guess the point I'd make is it's not actually clear to me that when and if Libya becomes stable again, it will necessarily bring us back to that pre-production volume. A lot of these fields get destroyed during these turmoils. We're also worried about this in Iraq. And so I think all I could say is there's tremendous uncertainty around this, but it's very hard for me to be convinced that these countries are going to start spending less and less as opposed to more and more.